3 months ago, I reviewed the INMO Go3, but there was a catch. It was the Chinese market unit running the international software available at the time, not the final global product. The English wake word barely worked. Navigation did not work. The AI and teleprompter felt unfinished. And INMO's claim of a completely private display did not hold up on my unit. Well, the global units are shipping now. I bought this Kickstarter version with my own money, and I have been testing it for the past week. Some of those problems are fixed. Some are only improved slightly. Overall, the experience changes more than I expected, depending on whether you use Android or iPhone. So, did the global version actually fix the Go3? Let's find out. Let's start with comfort, because if glasses are uncomfortable, these are probably just going back in the box or on your shelf. And right off the bat, this is one of the Go3's biggest strengths. They feel light, the weight is well distributed, and they are genuinely comfortable to me even after wearing them all day. They also look close enough to normal glasses that I did not feel particularly self-conscious wearing them in public. Prescription support is available for myopia and astigmatism, but not hyperopia or presbyopia. The battery system may still be the smartest thing about these glasses. The battery is built into the arm and is removable. When it runs out, you simply pull it off, put in the spare, and you are back up and running within a few seconds. The glasses do power off during the swap, but the interruption is brief and the spare battery and charging case are included. In one mixed-use outing at maximum brightness, I went from 100% to 50% in about 3 hours. Now, that was not continuous heavy use, so I would not extrapolate this to 6 hours. But with a spare battery that swaps out in a few seconds, battery life became a non-issue for me. These glasses come with a green monochrome binocular display, which is bright and easy to use indoors. Outdoors, it is generally readable but not very easy to see in direct sunlight. Because of this, something like navigation in bright light can be challenging, as some of the smaller details are hard to pick up. INMO says the display on these is 1500 nits, and when I compared the text in sunlight with something like the Rokit glasses, which are supposed to have the same brightness, they were similar. Next, my biggest pet peeve with glasses like these: light bleed. From straight ahead or from either side at roughly eye level, the display has minimal light bleed, which is good. However, you can still catch that telltale green flash of light if someone looks upward into the lenses from below, so I would definitely not call these completely invisible. But this is in line with the other display glasses in this category, so it is no longer as big of a disadvantage for INMO as I thought 3 months ago with the Chinese unit. Before going any further, it is important to call out the drastically different experience you will have depending on whether you are an iPhone or Android user, at least as of right now. With an iPhone, the glasses use the INMO Glasses app, while on Android, they use INMO Global. Depending on which one you use, your experience can be solid or frankly quite frustrating. Android connected faster, included navigation, had notifications enabled, and offered different AI options including GPT-5 Nano and Gemini 2.5 Pro. So while I spent a lot of time testing iOS as well, this review will anchor on my testing with my Android device. Let's talk about the AI. On Android, the glasses allow you to choose the underlying AI engine, and the current choices are GPT-5 Nano or Gemini 2.5 Pro. I tested visual recognition, current information, and short-term context. The flower test best shows why model choice matters. Hey, INMO, take a picture of this flower in front of me and tell me what it is. GPT-5 Nano failed to identify it both times. Gemini got it right more often than not. Interestingly, the way questions are phrased is important for the AI to work. Look at this thing in my hand did not always activate the camera. Take a picture and identify this worked more reliably. So, visual AI seems to work under the right circumstances. Next, for current information, I asked both models about recent sports results and checked the answers afterward. Both got them right. Short-term context is also much better on this global unit. I asked who was playing in a final, then asked for the record of both teams without naming them again, and it understood. I continued with follow-ups and topic switches, and it generally held up. But it sometimes holds context when you do not want it to. In another visual test, Gemini correctly understood that I was holding an electronic accessory, then started talking about whether it was organic, apparently carrying over from an earlier question about butter. So context is clearly improved, but not flawless. A few times, it also randomly started answering in Chinese. Thankfully, when I asked it to switch back to English, it did. INMO has acknowledged this as a known issue and says it is working on a fix. The wake word works most times, especially in a quiet room. The issue is its unpredictability in a noisy environment. Hey INMO. Hey INMO. Hey INMO. So the bottom line for AI is this. I think it is much more usable than it was 3 months ago, but it still comes with a set of caveats. By the way, this is consistent with my experience with AI tests on other display glasses like Rokit and Meta. AI is not really the strongest reason to get these glasses, in my opinion. Their strongest suit is translation. I tested 4 non-English languages for real-time translation, 1 that I speak fluently and 3 others that I do not. With the language I know, it was fast and reasonably accurate. With the other 3, I felt like I could follow along quite easily, although I obviously could not independently verify every translation.
45. Por eso cuando Estados Unidos anexa Texas, claro, para Estados Unidos que sí reconoce la independencia de Texas, estamos...
These were also controlled tests rather than noisy real-world conversations. But across this random sample, translation worked quite well. Dialogue translation was also quite impressive and worked through the phone speaker. So I can actually see the translation from Spanish to English on my glasses, and it's supposed to be translated from English to Spanish through the speakers or my phone. I do have the optional INMO speaker that you could use, but I did not use it for this review. So in summary, translation remains the clearest reason to buy the Go3. Navigation was one of the features I specifically wanted to test because it was missing on the Chinese unit. It is still not a clean story since it is available on Android, but is still missing on the iPhone as of this filming. INMO has said it is working on this. You cannot initiate it through the glasses or by voice, and you need to use the app to choose your destination and start navigation. But once it was running, it worked better than I had anticipated. Walking directions tracked reasonably well, even with my phone in my pocket and the app minimized. When I deliberately went off course, the glasses warned me and kept tracking my position accurately. I'm supposed to keep going straight over here. Instead, I'm going to turn right and see if it reroutes the path. They said they were trying to recalculate, but the actual rerouting did not work out great. However, I could still see the original route on the glasses, and if I started moving in the right direction, the route would get back on track. Cycling rerouting seemed a little better compared with the walking experience. So all in all, the navigation experience is pretty decent. The main limitation is how practical it is to use. In bright sunlight, some of the smaller details are hard to see, and the speakers are not the loudest. We will come back to that point shortly. The teleprompter is another big improvement and a strength of these glasses. I tested controlling it with my phone, the optional Ring 4, and AI voice tracking. Argentina sealed a dramatic semi-final comeback against England at Mercedes-Benz Stadium with 2 goals in the closing minutes to clinch. The AI scrolling worked really well, which was a huge surprise. When I stopped talking, it stopped. When I started again, it picked right back up from the correct spot. I could even scroll manually, and the voice tracking would continue from where I left off. The Ring 4 worked exactly as it was supposed to. It was responsive, did not jump around, and honestly was more reliable in my testing than what I've experienced with the R1 Ring and the Even G2 teleprompter. Now, to be clear, your eye movement can still reveal that you're reading off the screen. But as of this review, the teleprompter is fixed and feels like one of the better features the Go3 has to offer. Before going into my rapid round, let me highlight one major issue I ran into around the reliability of the cloud services that these glasses depend on. More than once over the weekend that I was testing, the cloud-dependent features, including AI, online translation, subtitles, and AI teleprompter scrolling, stopped working on my normal US network connection. Other users on Discord reported the same problem. Offline features kept working. The only way I was able to complete my online tests was by using a VPN and connecting through another region. That points to a server or routing problem on INMO's side rather than faulty glasses. But if INMO cannot make this reliable, that alone is a deal breaker in my opinion, since so many features rely on these cloud services. Next, a few other quick takes. SmartRec is an AI notes tool that records audio, creates a transcript, and produces a structured summary. It works pretty well in English, but when I tested it with another language, it saved the audio without producing a transcript or summary. Subtitles worked well in my controlled test environment. There was no punctuation, but they were understandable. Notifications worked for me on my Android device. Messages came through and were read aloud. I could not get this working on the iPhone during my testing. The speakers are relatively soft and the quality is average at best. They were fine in a quiet environment and I could hear AI answers while walking outside, but in a loud environment they were harder to hear. The camera records in landscape, which can be useful, but the camera quality again is average at best. When looking at pictures and videos side by side with something like the Rokit glasses, you can see that the Go3 image and video look flatter with less contrast, less fine detail, and colors that are a little washed out. The Go3 camera is fine in a pinch, but it is not the camera I would choose to capture an important moment on. So, where does that leave us? Here are my top 3 reasons to buy this device. The top reason is translation. The second reason is daily usability, which includes comfort, looks, and the swappable battery. And the final reason is productivity, which includes features like the Teleprompter and SmartRec, which are both pretty well executed. My top 3 reasons to skip are: first, if you are an iPhone user, unless INMO fixes the experience and demonstrates that it is working properly, I would steer clear for now. Number 2, voice activation and AI are still not seamless and sometimes feel patchy. And finally, the camera and audio are just functional and lag behind what competitors are currently offering. So did the global version fix the Go3? I think it took a massive step forward. It went from being a device I would not recommend to one that I would certainly consider for the right buyer, assuming INMO can sort out the server-side reliability issues. It has more than a few features that it actually does pretty well, including the translation, the teleprompter, and arguably the navigation. However, the server-side reliability issue I experienced and the pretty bad iOS experience prevent me from giving it my wholehearted endorsement. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.